Jean-Claude Roman, a model student at his college for 12 years, had just become a doctor. He knew so much about the world market, his family and friends all gave him money to invest in the Swiss market, as he was predicted to grow. He went on to get a job at the prestigious World Health Organization. He loved his family and his friends, and was a star among them. Until one of those family friends looked on the World Health Organization roster, and he was nowhere to be found. He brought it up to Jean, and in a panic, he killed his wife with a rolling pin. After he was done, he turned around and shot both his kids dead. That very same day, he went on a 50-mile drive to kill his parents and their dog. Once he returned back home, he swallowed countless pills and set the house ablaze. Somehow he lived and was forced to tell the story. He never graduated college or became a doctor, never got a well-paying job, and was living off his friends' and family's money he was supposed to be investing. And to prevent his loved ones from knowing the truth, he killed them all. Worst part is, he was let out of prison in 2015. Alzheimer's artist. The year is 1995. 61-year-old William, a London-based seemingly average man and artist, just found out about his diagnosis. He has Alzheimer's, but decided to use his life as an experiment. He drew self-portraits every so often, when he was reminded to see through the eyes of an artist how a person with Alzheimer's sees themselves. Starting average, before diagnosis, was normal. But as the years go by, his features get more and more hollow, seemingly dark and emotionless. His last one was made in 1999, because by the year 2000, he was no longer able to create, and passed in 2007. His first and his last, side by side, on how he perceived himself, is nearly heartbreaking. Mind-blowing facts with Jearrod. A woman once jumped off the 86th floor of the Empire State Building, but the wind pushed her back, and she fell onto a ledge of the 85th floor. She survived. The biggest bacteria species known, Theo margarita namibanensis, can have a maximum diameter of 0.7 millimeters, which is big enough for you to see without a microscope. November 2nd, 2000 was the last time all humans were on the planet together. Since then, at least one person has remained on the International Space Station. There is a termite colony in the Amazon rainforest that is the size of Great Britain and is almost 4,000 years old. There are also hundreds of millions of termite mounds. The US government has an official for the zombie apocalypse. Complan 8888, also known as Counter-Zombie Dominance, was written in 2011. And just in case you think this is weird bureaucratic humor, the first line reads, "This plan is not actually designed as a joke." There used to be 9 different species of humans. Mind-blowing facts with Jearrod, Part 2. Fatal familial insomnia exists. It's a rare, incurable prionic brain disease that progressively destroys your brain's ability to sleep. Eventually, you stop sleeping altogether, go insane, have seizures, and die. Only 1 in every 1,000 sea turtles born ever make it to adulthood. Statistically speaking, somebody you know personally and interact with on a daily basis is a pedophile. Eyelash mites are real, and it is highly likely that you're hosting a colony of them right now. Romberg's disease can cause all tissues of half of your face to spontaneously shriek. This includes bone. Etiology unknown. There's no certainty that the universe will not end in the next 10 seconds. Due to how your perception of time changes as you age, assuming you live a long life, you've lived half your perceived life by the age of 25. The youngest person on record to ever give birth was 5 years old. Over 80 million types of bacteria can be exchanged in one kiss. 5 interesting stuff. Bug edition. Number 5. Slugs are similar to whales, as they breathe through a similar blowhole apparatus. This slug's apparatus is so big you can actually see his organs. Number 4. Spiders don't sleep. They lower their metabolic rate slow enough to conserve energy, and along with that, they also do not blink. Number 3. I give you the Brazilian tree hopper. With 6 legs and 2 pairs of testes, this disgusting looking monstrosity is actually never eaten, mainly because they are just so freaking ugly. Number 2. The group of animal with the most species in the world are actually beetles. In the US alone, there are 30,000 different types. Those weird people that collect dead beetles actually deserve some respect. Number 1. Roly-polies, also called pill bugs, I don't know why you do that, aren't actually bugs at all. They're just land-dwelling crustaceans. They even breathe through gills that need to stay moist.
Instincts just come. What is it? I have no idea.
His name is Benji.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Top 3 most painful torture methods. Number 3. Disembowelment. While there are many different methods, This one extreme and painful method had the victim's stomach cut, usually with a blade, until the intestines could be pulled out while still alive and minimal damage had been done. The intestines would then be tied to a tree, and the victim would be forced to walk around the tree, with the inevitable result obviously being death. Number 2. Poenicalai. In ancient Rome, the killing of one's family member would result in this method. Many leather sacks were sewn together. Then, the condemned party was sewn into the sack, along with a monkey, a dog, a snake, and a rooster. The sack was then tossed into a body of water, and the animals, while trying to escape, would thrash and bite the victim, and if that didn't kill them, eventually, drowning would. Number 1. Bamboo torture. Bamboo, the fastest growing plant on earth. The victim would be tied on top of the shoots of bamboo, and the slow horrific pain of being impaled with sharp bamboo would ensue for several days. 3 weird things that happen to everyone, but nobody talks about. On days outside, you look up at the sky and see a little blue, slightly transparent thing floating in your vision. But when you turn your eye towards it, it floats away. Weird, strange, but a part of life. While sitting and doing nothing, you're biting at your cheek. The piece of skin comes off, and it kind of just disappears. You probably swallowed it, but that was a piece of human flesh. Not only have you just indulged in cannibalization, but you've indulged in self-cannibalization at that. On a different note, you feel your phone vibrate, so you go to look at it, and nothing's there. No emails or text, you just felt the vibration that never even happened. But that's okay. Nobody needs to know your brain is so addicted to your phone that it tries to make excuses just to look at it. Just ignore it, the way most of us ignore these things. And have a good day. The game. If you know what it is, you've already lost. But if you don't know what it is, congratulations. You're now playing the game. But how do you win said game? Simple. You don't. You can only lose. And millions of people are playing right now. You lose when you remember the game. So whether you like it or not, you're now playing, and will never forget the game. Once you lose, you have to announce out loud, I lose. And for 30 minutes, you're given a grace period, where you don't lose when you remember the game. The goal is to get every person in the world to play the game. As soon as someone learns about the game, they begin playing. So tag someone, and send them on a lifelong journey playing a game they will never win, but also a game they can never quit. The world's luckiest man. Frank Tillich was born June 14th, 1929, but he's been dubbed the world's luckiest man. One might wonder, what has to happen for you to earn this title? Well, it started in 1962, when the train he was on derailed. Many passengers drowned that day, but a stranger pulled Frank from the wreckage, and he survived. Next year, on his first plane ride ever, the plane malfunctioned in the sky. Before the plane came crashing to the ground, the door opened up and he fell out. Somehow, he landed in a haystack and survived. Just 3 years after that, while driving through the mountains, his car slid off the road, and he barely survived that one. Next, his car caught fire and ended up exploding. Just a bit after that, he was hit by a bus and survived that. After, he went on to have a head-on collision with a semi-truck. It flung him off the road and he held on to a tree for dear life until he was saved. Then, in 2003, he decided to try his luck at the lottery, and wouldn't you know it, he won $1.1 million in the bank.
You may remember this viral photo from 2014. The young man's name is Devonte Hart. Hart was one of 6 children adopted by Jennifer and Sarah Hart. What seems to be the start of a feel-good story would take a fatal turn. On March 26, 2018, a drunk Jennifer Hart drove herself, her wife, and their 6 children off of a 100-foot cliff into the Pacific Ocean. According to the black box in the car, there was no attempt to brake, and the car had been accelerating while it drove off the cliff. The children had all been dosed with high levels of Benadryl, and Sarah's phone history showed searches for lethal doses of Benadryl, as well as how quickly someone could die from hypothermia. Reports show quite a few allegations of abuse throughout the years leading up to the incident. All of the bodies were recovered, except for Devonte, who is still classified as missing.
Top 5 smartest animals. Number 5. Elephants. Other than being taught how to paint and having great memories, elephants have a sense of self and have one of the best emotional intelligence in the animal kingdom. Number 4. Pigs. Widely known as the 4th smartest animal, they have complex situational awareness and can even learn more tricks than a dog. Number 3. Chimps. They play games, they can learn words, and even mourn over deaths of their loved ones. But just like humans, their intellectual ability varies. Number 2. Dolphins. They're known to have immense brain power, have self-awareness, empathy, teaching skills, and only second in problem solving to number 1. The most intelligent animal, aside from humans that is crows. They can recognize hundreds of different faces. They have the problem solving ability of 7-year-olds. They make tools, play games, have self-control, and even hold grudges. So be kind to your local crows.
Hi. Hi.
Top 5 best-selling games of all time. Number 5, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know that this game was that popular. I played it for like 2 months and I thought it went out of style, but I guess people loved it. Number 4, Wii Sports. This is kind of a fluke just because it came with the Wii, so any Wii cell also counted as a Wii Sports cell, but hey, you do what you gotta do. Number 3, Tetris. Tetris was actually the number 1 spot for like 8 years until, well, real video games. And also, they count every single kind of Tetris. It's kind of like counting Super Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros Wii U Deluxe, Nintendo Bros Super Mario Luigi Do Battleground. It's not really fair. Number 2, GTA 5. It's kind of expected. It came out in 2013 and has been in the top 10 best-selling games of every single year since 2013. What can you really say? It's one of the golden games of our era, and it still stands up till today, even though it was made last gen. Number 1, and my personal favorite game of all time, Minecraft, with 200 million cells. This, I don't really ever see any other game topping this. If you got this game, you're cool with me. Animals in space. Number 3, quails were sent into space alongside Russian cosmonauts, testing their sustainability as a food source. Once they were old enough to wear a harness, they were easily flipped right side up, instead of always flipping over. But none of the scientists were able to coax them to breed or lay any eggs, ending the quails in space research. Number 2, Laika. A random street dog was picked up and found by Russian space workers. November 3rd, 1957, they launched her into space to see the effects of space, because she would be the first living creature in space. Sadly, the cooling system malfunctioned, and after a few hours, Laika passed away. On the way back down to Earth, the spaceship burnt up in the atmosphere, but she was granted her own statue. Number 1, Ham. An average chimp was recruited and trained on basic tasks by the Air Force, as he was bought at the age of 2. In 1961, he was launched into space, orbited for about 16 minutes, and returned to Earth. He landed in the ocean and was retrieved, alive.
Ham has done it. He is safe and well.
The smartest man ever. Born 1898, Williams James Sidis had an IQ of between 250 to 300. The average person's IQ was 100. Albert Einstein's was 160. William was a child prodigy. At just 1 year old, he was already reading the newspaper, and by the age of 6, he could speak 7 different languages, and in his free time, wrote poetry, a novel, and a constitution for a utopia. He was accepted into Harvard at the age of 9, but they wouldn't allow him to attend classes until the age of 11. At 16, he gave the class a lecture on the complex topic of 4-dimensional bodies, and left everyone in the class clueless. He also graduated from Harvard in that same year. With the brain power of 3 men, he decided he wanted to work a low-level accounting job. He wanted to live a boring, peaceful life. But people kept asking how such a smart man could be so stupid. He was belittled for his job choice, patronized publicly and in the newspaper, and died at the young age of 46 from a cerebral hemorrhage. It has always been said, too much expectation leads to sadness. Why is it the 4th of July? Because the Declaration of Independence, mostly wrote by Thomas Jefferson, who was all of these things, got it signed on August 2nd, 1776. But was finally approved by Congress on July 4th, 1776. The Declaration proclaimed they were no longer at war with Great Britain, and the US was their own independent nation. Woo! Now all they had to do was murder the people still living on the land, buy and keep slaves to the real work the backbone of this country was actually built on, and all that would be kinda hard, seeing as Europe abolished slavery, and for some reason was trying to tell the US to stop torturing humans, and thus the lifelong injustices to brown people were celebrated with the fireworks and hamburgers. The end. Dogs 100 years ago. As the years go by, humans continue to pick and choose what qualities they would like in a dog, sadly, usually being harmful to the dogs. The Bull Terrier, 1915. Fit, slim, well-proportioned, compared to today's Bull Terrier, with the more football-styled head. Dogs used for bait to bulls, the Bulldog, in the 1800s. Stocky, muscular, but still livable, compared to today's thicker, squatted body. The new, smushed and hard-to-breathe faces, and can no longer breathe without help. 1915. German Shepherds, around 55 pounds, medium-sized dogs, deep chest, straight back, and highly athletic, compared to 75 to 95 pounds sloping back and hip problem German Shepherds of today. Pugs, 100 years ago, nearly the same body type, but bred with flat faces in mind, which result in breathing problems, and occasionally their eyeballs popping out. It's safe to say these and many other dogs have been screwed over just by living near humans.